It's time now for our Entre Nous segment, and today we're focusing on how Donald Trump and Emmanuel Macron's relationship has evolved on this one-year anniversary of the US president's second term, and as things seem increasingly fraught between the two men. For more on this, we can bring in Solange Mougin, who joins me now. Solange, things seem to be really heating up between these two men.
Yeah, Trump and Macron have most definitely hit a rocky or rough patch. And I think it's pretty safe to say that the bromance or the brotherly romance, which is a notion that often comes up when people refer to Trump and Macron's relationship, it isn't necessarily in the divorce phase, but it is not far from it. And in the past few days, it's not Ukraine or Gaza, but it's really Greenland that has tipped the balance here. But then again, all it takes is a long theatrical handshake or a pat to potentially change that for the cameras. That is, if things do not escalate. In a second, I'll get into how this notion of a bromance, of their very tactile friendship, which is something that they nurture, and how they are nurturing it generally. And Trump and Macron's relationship really is sort of a study in the politics of touch. And that physical, yeah, it is, that physical proximity, it still defines their relationship. And you could argue it still serves them both, be it in 2017, when they both were elected within 4 months of each other, and Macron pulled the famous 30-second handshake on Trump, a sign of his presence, be it in the past year, with Macron patting Trump's arm and even his thigh. But before we get into the sort of political theatrics of their broness, let's focus on the here and now. And in regard to Greenland, Trump has just leaked a text message that Macron sent to him. Not only is this an uncouth release of private communications between world leaders, which shows us something about the disagreement that they're having, but also about Trump himself. And it is also a bird's eye view into how Macron approaches the US president.
My friend, we are totally in line on Syria. We can do great things on Iran. I do not understand what you are doing on Greenland. Let us try to build great things. I can set up a G7 meeting after Davos in Paris on Thursday afternoon. I can invite the Ukrainians, the Danish, the Syrians, and the Russians in the margins. Let us have a dinner together in Paris together on Thursday before you go back to the US. Emmanuel.
Now, just prior to Trump releasing that text, he threatened to levy 200% tariffs on French wine and French champagne after he heard that Macron declined to join Trump's board of peace on Gaza. To this, Trump said verbatim, "Nobody wants him because he will be out of office very soon," end quote. Now, it is true that Macron leaves office in 2027 and that he is politically weaker domestically. This is something that Trump has used against the French president in the past year, particularly when Macron pushes back against U.S. policy. So that is Trump right now. As for Emmanuel Macron, he often sternly corrects, politely corrects, without citing Trump by name. And this is something that many European leaders do. No direct criticism and no naming of Trump.
The U.S. is an established power, but it's turning away from its allies and walking away from international rules it was just recently promoting.
So, Solange, is Trump signaling out Macron, and is this all Macron's own doing, really?
Well, Emmanuel Macron often takes the lead. This opens him up to be an easy target for Trump's mockery. But again, the friendliness could also be a buffer as well here. Who knows? Macron was the one who proposed to use for the first time ever the EU's trade bazooka over the Greenland dispute. And he has repeatedly positioned himself as a champion for Europe. And you could even argue Macron has had forward thinking on his early calls for a European military force. So this has increased tensions with Trump. In the space of less than a month, for example, the US president has mocked Macron's French accent 3 different times.
I started with President Macron of France, and a very nice person. I like him a lot. I hope he's listening because he doesn't believe that, but I do. He's a nice man. And I said, Emmanuel, yes, Donald, thank you so much for calling. Oh, I said, you're not going to like this call. You're going to have to get your drug prices up. No, I will not do that.
But the mockery doesn't mean that the bromance theatrics are totally over. That it's only France that is the target of Trump's criticism. What has changed in this first year of Trump's second term, and it has only been a year, is a much more vocal disdain for all of Europe, be it from J.D. Vance's speech to defense ministers nearly a year ago, be it in the administration's national security strategy document, be it in Trump's criticism, or be it in the threats on Greenland. And in this regard, France's response, you could argue there has been a small shift in the past year as well. There's been more stern pushback, a drawing of red lines, and more action. But there's also been a bit more of trolling as well than in the first term, at least. For example, Macron went to Greenland in June. He was the first French president to do this. Even a more prime example of this is the foreign ministry. So it's not Macron, but it is the French state. Their new take on how to push back against the Trump administration and against misinformation. Their X account of French response uses a mocking tone and satire, and it regularly trolls back. So how France responds to the U.S. administration is changing a bit, but there is no doubt that there is this sort of treacherous fine line being walked.
So this political dance between Macron and Trump is set to continue despite these tensions.
Yeah, Macron continues to address Trump as his friend. We see this in the text message. And he has done this since 2017 with their long handshakes, brushing off of Macron's dandruff, invitations to state visits, military parades on the Champs-Élysées, the Notre Dame inauguration. It is continued bromance, and it has been for years. And Trump has called Macron a nice man, a friend, a smart customer, he said. And when they do meet, there is still this sort of friendly rapport and political tug-of-war of who calls the shots and who's to be reckoned with. So this facade, you could say, of both camaraderie and praise, but also threats and teasing, at least from Trump, it continues. It's a political dance, a facade of a bromance.
We'll see how the relationship continues to evolve. Solange, thank you very much for that. Solange Mougin there with Entre Nous, and you can check out other editions of Entre Nous on our website, france24.com.